So one of the common questions we get is, how do you install the solar panels on the roof without getting a leak? And so what we're going to show you is exactly what we do. And so the flashings we have are really robust. And so on the back side of this flashing that tucks underneath your shingles is you have basically a triple layer of protection. So you're going to have your gasket, which has a pressure seal. There's a peely part on the back that you just peel off and we stick it. Then there's also a rubber grommet. And so when you pressure install your lag bolt, it's going to press this against the roof and add an extra point of contact that's going to help keep your roof sealed. We also like to add an extra bead of tar in the shape of a U, so if water touches on the backside, it's going to go around and away from the hole. Then when you actually flip it over on the top side that is exposed, once we break the seal on the shingle, we like to re-tar the top so it seals properly to the shingle again. And it also has built in it 2 extra layers of protection so the water naturally goes away from your hole. And it also has a raised edge. So that raised edge also guides it away in another way. And then once you get an L foot, and you put your L foot on, and we're gonna have a lag bolt that has an EPDM washer on it too, it's just gonna give you an extra layer of protection. So when you are installing these, you're gonna get really good at them because most roofs have anywhere from 20 to 50 of them. They're gonna give you that reassurance that your roof is gonna be watertight.
Okay, so once we have our chalk line done and we have our joists or our studs marked out here, we're ready to install flashing. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a drill and we're just gonna, right in this cross point here between the chalk line and the stud, we're just gonna drill a hole. And once our hole's there, we're good to pry the upper shingle up so we can slide our flashing under. So we're just gonna take this pry bar here. I'm just gonna slide under the flashing. So once we got our flashing ready, we got our tar. We're just gonna do a little bead around the seal that's already there. And we're gonna do one up just so kind of water goes around. And we're gonna do one on the back here just to make sure everything kind of sticks to each other. So we have our tar going around the gasket that's pre-installed on the flashing. There's a mini gasket around the hole in the flashing. So it'll squish down once it gets all sealed with the lag bolt, and then we're pretty much good to go. So we'll take our flashing, we'll just slide it under the upper shingle. We'll line it up to our hole. Once it's all lined up, we're good to take our L foot and a lag bolt, and we'll just screw it down. And you'll know it's secured all the way down once you kind of see the rubber gasket around the lag bolt kind of squish down a little bit.
So the next step that we're going to have here is installing the rails. So let's walk you through a couple of components. So the L foot that we installed earlier, there's a couple features with it. It does have adjustability for up and down if your roof surface isn't perfectly level, which is nice to have. And then there's a little bit of a form-fitted piece of metal on the other side that's going to fit perfectly into the side of the rail. So you can either slide it on the end, or you can back the screw out enough that it'll just slip in this way, and then you tighten the screw to lock it in place. So we're gonna start putting some of the rail in place. The biggest thing with your rail is you just wanna make sure your overhang isn't gonna be more than 24 inches past your last flashing. If you have 2 pieces of rail connecting together, we have joiners for that to extend that piece of rail as well. Yeah, so now we're at the point where we're going to be installing the rail. When we initially did our layout, we chalked out exactly where our panels are going to be, and we had our corners marked. So you're going to pull your rail at least 2 to 3 inches just past that mark. You have a bit of overhang, and any excess rail we're going to end up cutting off. When we're putting our rail in on the bottom, you just want to make sure that that piece actually fits into the bottom. You can back out this screw to give yourself a little bit more wiggle room, and then you're just going to make sure that you have your 3 inches carried on the one edge before you tighten. And then we're just gonna snug that in place. So you can choose your height. We generally like to be just underneath that top notch, and then we'll start on this end and see where we level out on the other side. Usually it's gonna be pretty bang on. So we're just gonna tighten that nut. We're not gonna tighten them all down super tight just yet. We just wanna make sure that we're coming across nice and straight and get all our rails in place, and then we'll tighten them all at the end. All right, so we've reached the end of a rail. The next step is we're gonna have to add on a piece, but you gotta put a joiner in between. So we've kind of pre-cut this one to already fit a little bit past the end of the last panel, so it just slides in place. You just want to give it a little tap to go in. You don't want to go and hit it with the end of your hammer. That can dent the metal and it's not going to fit nicely. So then we'll tuck the other end this way. We'll just get her nice and snug. So you're just going to see the bolt in the middle, and that's how you're going to know that that's nice and tight. So the nice thing with these joiners is because they do have those weaves on the end, it keeps the whole rail continuously grounded. So when you do your grounding, you only have to ground each rail instead of every single panel.